Imagine a city so powerful that it was considered the queen of cities for over 1,000 years. A city protected by walls that were said to be unbreachable, shielding it from countless invaders. What happens when such a city, believed to be indestructible, falls? How did the most powerful empire of the ancient world come to its knees? And what were the consequences that rippled across continents? This is the story of the fall of Constantinople. For over a millennium, Constantinople had stood as the capital of the Byzantine Empire, the last vestige of the Roman Empire. Founded in 330 AD by Emperor Constantine the Great, it was strategically situated on the Bosphorus, bridging Europe and Asia. The city's great wealth, cultural significance, and military strength made it one of the most coveted cities in the world. The city was not only a hub of commerce, but also the center of Orthodox Christianity. At its heart stood the Hagia Sophia, the largest cathedral in the world, a symbol of divine power and architectural marvel. The Theodosian walls, which encircled the city, had withstood numerous sieges, earning a reputation as the most formidable defense system ever built. But by the 15th century, these walls were guarding a city in decline. Chapter 1. The Byzantine Empire struggles in decline. The 14th and 15th centuries were not kind to the Byzantines. The empire had been steadily losing territory for centuries, its once vast realm reduced to just a few enclaves in the city itself. The Black Death had decimated the population, and political instability weakened the empire even further. Constantinople, which had once been a thriving metropolis of over 800,000 people, was now home to barely 50,000 inhabitants. By 1453, the empire's last emperor, Constantine Palaiologos, was left with little more than the city itself and a desperate hope for assistance from the West. But centuries of religious and political divisions between the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches had left a deep rift that no amount of diplomacy could heal. Chapter 2. The Rise of the Ottoman Empire. In stark contrast, the Ottoman Empire was on a meteoric rise. The young Sultan Mehmed II, who ascended the throne in 1451, had dreams of greatness. At just 19 years old, he was determined to achieve what his predecessors could not: conquer Constantinople and make it the jewel of his empire. He was obsessed with the idea of surpassing the Roman emperors and fulfilling a prophecy that foretold the fall of Constantinople to a great Muslim conqueror. Mehmed wasted no time in laying the groundwork for his ambitious plan. The construction of Rumeli Hisar on the European side of the Bosphorus ensured control over the strait, effectively cutting off aid to Constantinople from the Black Sea. But Mehmed's most formidable weapon would be his artillery. The Ottomans had long been known for their mastery of siege warfare, and now they would employ technology that would change the face of battle forever. Massive cannons capable of breaching even the strongest fortifications. A Hungarian engineer named Orban, who initially offered his services to the Byzantines, had built the most powerful cannon of the time, known as the Basilica. When the Byzantines failed to pay him, Orban turned to Mehmed, promising that his cannon could bring down the walls of Babylon itself. It was a weapon unlike any the world had seen, capable of hurling 600-pound stone balls over a mile. Chapter 3. The Siege of Constantinople begins. On April 6, 1453, the Ottoman army, numbering between 50,000 and 80,000 men, arrived at the gates of Constantinople. The Byzantines, along with their few allies, had barely 7,000 defenders to hold the city's 20 kilometers of walls. As the siege began, Mehmed sent out his cannons to bombard the Theodosian walls relentlessly, day and night. Despite the continuous cannon fire, the walls held for weeks. The defenders, led by the brave Genoese commander Giovanni Giustiniani, repaired the breaches as quickly as they were made, using debris to patch the walls. Each night, as the Ottoman cannons fell silent, the Byzantines scrambled to restore their defenses. One of Constantinople's greatest advantages was the Golden Horn, a harbor protected by a massive iron chain. No enemy ships could enter without breaching this barrier. Mehmed, however, had a bold plan. On April 22nd, he ordered his ships to be hauled over land, bypassing the chain entirely and launching them into the Golden Horn. The sight of Ottoman ships in the Golden Horn shocked the defenders. With the city now under siege from both land and sea, the pressure on the Byzantines increased exponentially. Chapter 4. The Role of Foreign Powers. As the siege wore on, Emperor Constantine XI desperately sought help from Western Europe. But the rift between the Eastern and Western churches, deepened by events like the Fourth Crusade, left the Byzantines isolated. While the Pope sent a few ships and individual mercenaries came to fight, no significant reinforcements arrived. France and England were exhausted from the 100 Years' War. Spain was embroiled in the Reconquista, and Germany was fractured by internal strife. Even the Venetian fleet, which had been promised to assist, did not arrive in time. The Byzantines were left to face the Ottoman onslaught alone. Chapter 5. A failed naval attack. The Byzantines launched a daring naval attack on April 28th, attempting to destroy the Ottoman fleet in the Golden Horn with fire ships. However, the attack failed, and many of the Christian ships were lost. In retaliation, Mehmed had the captured sailors impaled on stakes, a grisly sight meant to demoralize the defenders. By late May, Mehmed was ready to deliver the final blow. On the night of May 28th, a solemn service was held in the Hagia Sophia. Emperor Constantine and the city's defenders prayed for a miracle. As the bells tolled for Vespers, it would be the last time that prayers were offered in the great cathedral as a Christian church. Shortly after midnight, the final assault began. The walls of Constantinople, which had withstood sieges for over a millennium, were about to be breached. Chapter 6. The Fall. The attack was brutal and unrelenting. Mehmed's forces came in waves. First the irregular troops, then the Anatolian soldiers, and finally the elite Janissaries. The defenders fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and exhausted. Giustiniani, the Genoese commander who had been the backbone of the city's defense, was gravely wounded, leading to chaos and panic among the ranks. With the walls breached and Ottoman soldiers pouring into the city, Emperor Constantine XI made his final stand. According to legend, he threw aside his imperial robes and charged into the fray, dying as a soldier rather than surrendering as an emperor. His body was never found. The city fell into chaos. The Ottomans looted, burned, and killed with little restraint. The Hagia Sophia, once a sanctuary, became a place of horror as those seeking refuge were taken captive. The bloodshed was immense, and the Queen of Cities was no more. Chapter 7. The Aftermath. On May 29, 1453, Sultan Mehmed II entered Constantinople as a conqueror. The Hagia Sophia was converted into a mosque, and the city was declared the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. For the Islamic world, it was a moment of triumph, fulfilling a prophecy that had stood for centuries. But for Europe, the fall of Constantinople was a devastating blow. It marked the end of the Byzantine Empire, a direct link to the Roman world, and sent shockwaves throughout Christendom. Scholars fleeing the city brought ancient texts and knowledge to the West, fueling the Renaissance and forever changing the course of history. Today, the legacy of Constantinople lives on in the stones of Istanbul, a city that has continued to be a bridge between East and West. The fall of the city marked the end of one world and the beginning of another, shaping the course of history in ways that still resonate. It reminds us that change, no matter how difficult, is unavoidable, and that even the mightiest empires may collapse. So, what can we learn from the fall of Constantinople? Was it the courage of its defenders, the ambition of its conqueror, or the inevitability of change that defined this historic event? The answers reside not just in the past, but also in the echoes still audible to us now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating tales from history.